He's Hollywood's ultimate tough guy, a man of few words but plenty of action. But behind Clint Eastwood's iconic squint and legendary film career lies one of the most complicated romantic histories in entertainment. 8 children with 6 different women, 2 divorces, countless affairs, and relationships that ranged from decades-long marriages to secret flings. Eastwood's love life reads like one of his own Western dramas. The 93-year-old legend has experienced passionate love, devastating heartbreak, scandalous affairs, and quiet companionship. From his turbulent first marriage to Maggie Johnson to his final years with the late Christina Sandera, this is the complete story. Now let's dive into the full romantic history and meet the women who were part of this unforgettable journey. Clint Eastwood's longest and most foundational relationship began on a blind date in May 1953. Maggie Johnson was a University of California, Berkeley student when a mutual friend set her up with the recently discharged military serviceman. Johnson later recalled being stunned when Eastwood turned around. She was immediately captivated by his looks and understated demeanor. Despite Johnson having a boyfriend at the time, the chemistry was undeniable. They hit it off right away, according to Eastwood, and began dating seriously. However, even during this early courtship, Eastwood was seeing other women. Unbeknownst to him at the time, he had fathered a daughter, Lori Murray, with another woman in Seattle. The child was born in early 1954 and placed for adoption. Eastwood wouldn't learn about her existence for decades. Despite his hesitations about commitment, Eastwood proposed to Johnson, and they married on December 19, 1953. Their first year was rocky. Eastwood himself called it terrible, admitting he still wanted to do as he pleased. By the late 1950s, he began an extramarital affair with stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis that would last 14 years and produce a daughter, Kimber Lynn, in 1964. Johnson seemed to choose willful ignorance about her husband's infidelities. When a mutual friend was asked if Eastwood was playing around, he lied to protect the marriage. Johnson reportedly preferred not to dwell on it. Eastwood later told Playboy that Johnson was a woman who knows how much room I need, a telling statement about the nature of their arrangement. Despite the affairs, the couple had 2 children together, son Kyle in 1968 and daughter Allison in 1972. They built a dream home in Carmel by the Sea, California, spending 7 years on construction. Ironically, arguments about the house contributed to their growing distance. By the late 1970s, amid Eastwood's very public affair with actress Sondra Locke, the marriage finally collapsed. They separated in 1979 and officially divorced in 1984, with Johnson receiving a reported $25 million settlement. Remarkably, they remained friends. Johnson was by his side when he was elected mayor of Carmel by the Sea in 1986, and decades later, they still celebrate holidays together and live just a mile apart. Their daughter Allison has praised both parents for prioritizing family above their failed marriage. While still married to Maggie Johnson, Eastwood met stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis on the set of the TV Western Rawhide in 1959. What began as a workplace attraction evolved into a 14-year affair, one of the longest-running relationships in Eastwood's complicated romantic history. In 1964, Tunis became pregnant and gave birth to their daughter, Kimber Lynn Eastwood. According to Eastwood, he didn't know about the pregnancy and wasn't informed until a year after Kimber's birth. He later described learning the news as having the wind knocked out of him. Despite the shock, Eastwood took financial responsibility for his daughter, though his involvement was limited. He visited only every 3 or 4 months. The affair with Tunis continued throughout the 1960s and into the early 70s. She would visit him on film sets and in his office, maintaining their secret relationship even as Eastwood's marriage to Johnson endured and his career skyrocketed. The exact end date of their relationship remains unclear, but by the mid-1970s, Eastwood had moved on to his next high-profile affair. Tunis remained largely out of the public eye, raising Kimber away from Hollywood's spotlight. Their daughter would later pursue acting and music, occasionally appearing alongside her famous father. Sondra Locke, 1975–1989. Perhaps Eastwood's most infamous and toxic relationship was with actress Sondra Locke. They first met in 1972 when she auditioned for his film Breezy, though she didn't get the part. 3 years later, she was cast in the outlaw Josie Wales, and their affair began. At the time, Eastwood was still married to Maggie Johnson. and Locke was married to her childhood best friend Gordon Anderson in what she described as a platonic arrangement. Anderson was Why? According to Locke's autobiography, Eastwood told her there was no real relationship left between him and Johnson. Locke moved into one of Eastwood's homes, and they became Hollywood's worst-kept secret. Despite swirling rumors, both publicly maintained they were just friends. "Everybody would love for us to say, 'It's all true, we're madly in love,'" Locke told people in 1978. "But people will believe whatever they want to believe." Their relationship would last 14 years, but it was far from healthy. Locke alleged in her autobiography that Eastwood pressured her into having 2 abortions and a tubal ligation because he didn't want more children, allegations Eastwood denied. Meanwhile, he continued affairs with other women, including flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves and actress Frances Fisher. By April 1989, the relationship reached a brutal end. Eastwood allegedly moved all of Locke's belongings into storage and changed the locks on their home. Locke responded by filing a palimony lawsuit, alleging humiliation, mental anguish, severe emotional and physical distress. The case was settled in 1990, with Eastwood securing her a $1.5 million development deal at Warner Bros., giving her a house, and paying $450,000 plus monthly support. 5 years later, Locke sued again for fraud, claiming all her projects at Warner Bros. Were rejected as Eastwood's way of blacklisting her. They settled out of court in 1996. Locke died in 2018 of cardiac arrest related to cancer, having told the Washington Post her biggest regret was not ending the relationship with Eastwood years earlier. While still involved with Sondra Locke, Eastwood began an affair with flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves in the mid-1980s. Unlike his other relationships, this one was kept almost entirely secret. Reeves and Eastwood managed to maintain their relationship away from paparazzi and tabloid scrutiny, a remarkable feat given Eastwood's fame. The relationship produced 2 children, son Scott Eastwood, born in 1986, and daughter Catherine Eastwood, born in 1988. Both would eventually pursue careers in entertainment, with Scott becoming a successful actor in his own right, appearing in films like The Longest Ride and Suicide Squad. Details about the relationship remain scarce. Reeves has never publicly discussed Eastwood in detail, maintaining her privacy even decades later. The affair reportedly ended around 1990, just as Eastwood was beginning yet another relationship. The existence of Scott and Catherine would later contribute to the collapse of Eastwood's relationship with Frances Fisher, who was reportedly blindsided by the revelation. In late 1988, while simultaneously dating Sondra Locke and having an ongoing affair with Jacelyn Reeves, Eastwood met actress Frances Fisher on the set of Pink Cadillac. Fisher later described it as love at first sight. She entered a pre-production party on roller skates and saw Eastwood across the room. "When he turns it on, he can turn it on," she recalled. "I just saw such beauty in his presence, and I felt like a big piece of the puzzle had fallen in place." They began spending time together during filming and continued back in Los Angeles. When Eastwood and Locke's split became public in late 1989, Fisher was surprised. He hadn't mentioned the relationship. Despite this red flag, they began dating seriously and eventually moved in together. By 1992, they were attending red carpet events as a couple, and Fisher told people their relationship was steady, serious, and we have a lot of fun. In August 1993, they welcomed daughter Francesca Ruth Eastwood. Fisher described the period that followed as miraculous, a happy family unit enjoying life together, but the bliss didn't last. By the end of 1993, cracks began to show. Fisher discovered Eastwood's children with Jacelyn Reeves, kids she hadn't known existed. Then paparazzi photos surfaced of Eastwood kissing another woman. Fisher moved into the guest house. By spring 1995, the relationship was over. If you can't get past the honeymoon stage and get into the deeper meanings of why you're together, you're doomed to just stop when things start getting tough, Fisher told the LA Times. Despite the painful ending, the former couple are now on good terms. Fisher later said, "I believe when you have loved someone, if you don't destroy it with pettiness, then the love is always there." While still dating Frances Fisher, Eastwood met television news anchor Dina Ruiz in 1992 when she interviewed him for a local Carmel station. They crossed paths again at a charity event, and the connection was immediate. "We ended up holding hands and doing all that kind of nonsense," Eastwood later recalled with a smile. They didn't officially become a couple until after his split from Fisher in early 1995. By September of that year, Eastwood proposed, in a whirlwind romance that mirrored a Hollywood. Script, he took Dina to Idaho in December 1995 to get their marriage license. Then, in March 1996, while Dina was on a girls' trip to Las Vegas, Eastwood organized a surprise wedding at his friend Steve Wynn's estate. In just 48 hours, the ceremony was planned and executed. Dina later called it her dream wedding. Shortly after their nuptials, they discovered Dina was pregnant. In December 1996, they welcomed daughter Morgan Eastwood. For over a decade, the marriage appeared solid. Dina described Eastwood as the least pretentious person I've ever met, praising his love of nature and gentle spirit. They rarely spent more than 10 days apart. But in 2012, everything changed. The couple appeared on the reality show Mrs. Eastwood and Company, which chronicled Dina's life with Morgan and stepdaughter Francesca. Sources said Eastwood was furious about the show as it violated his preference for privacy. By June, while the show was still airing, their marriage had collapsed. They were living in separate rooms. Dina began leaning on an old friend, Scott Fisher, for emotional support. Meanwhile, Scott's ex-wife Erica reached out to Eastwood with concerns. By March 2013, Eastwood and Erica were dating, news that left Dina in total shock. Dina filed for legal separation in September 2013 and officially filed for divorce in October, citing irreconcilable differences. Despite the circumstances, she insisted Eastwood was a wonderful, good-natured, brilliant person. In July 2016, Dina married Scott Fisher. Eastwood's relationship with Erica Tomlinson Fisher began under unusual circumstances. Erica, who was finalizing her divorce from Scott Fisher, Dina's friend, reached out to Eastwood in early 2013 with concerns about the nature of Dina and Scott's relationship. What started as a concerned phone call evolved into regular conversations and eventually romance. By March 2013, while Eastwood was still legally married to Dina, he and Erica began dating. They kept the relationship extremely private, though paparazzi managed to photograph them together in Los Angeles. The relationship was never publicly acknowledged by either party. Details about how or when their relationship ended remain unknown. By 2015, Eastwood had moved on to his final relationship. Erica has never publicly discussed Eastwood or their time together, maintaining complete privacy about that chapter of her life. Following his split from Erica, Eastwood met hostess Christina Sandera, who worked at his hotel in Carmel by the Sea. Their relationship was Eastwood's most private and perhaps most peaceful. The couple made their red carpet debut at the Oscars in 2015, confirming their relationship to the world without fanfare or drama. Unlike Eastwood's previous high-profile relationships, Sandera avoided the spotlight entirely. She wasn't an actress, model, or public figure. She was simply a woman who loved him outside the Hollywood machine. Their relationship was marked by quiet companionship rather than tabloid headlines. In 2018, Sandera joined Eastwood's blended family, including his children, granddaughter, and even his first wife Maggie Johnson, at the premiere of his film The Mule. The appearance signaled that she had been fully embraced by the Eastwood clan, a testament to the relationship's authenticity. For nearly a decade, they remained together, with Sandera providing stability during Eastwood's later years. Tragically, on July 18, 2024, Eastwood announced Sandera's death at age 61. In a brief but heartfelt statement, he said, "Christina was a lovely, caring woman, and I will miss her very much." It marked the end of Eastwood's final love story, a relationship defined by privacy, respect, and genuine affection. Clint Eastwood's romantic journey spans over 7 decades and reveals a man far more complex than his tough guy screen persona. From his 31-year marriage to Maggie Johnson, marked by affairs and eventual friendship, to his toxic relationship with Sondra Locke, his pattern of overlapping relationships, and finally his peaceful years with Christina Sandera, Eastwood's love life reflects both Hollywood's glamour and its chaos. He fathered 8 children with 6 different women, navigated multiple lawsuits, survived public scandals, and somehow maintained relationships with most of his exes. At 93, having lost his final companion, Eastwood's romantic chapter appears closed. But his legacy, both on screen and in the messy, beautiful reality of love, remains unforgettable. But next up, Warren Beatty's legendary list, 12, 775 women, or so he claims. Let's separate fact from fiction in Hollywood's most outrageous romantic myth.